Greetings to all. This is Albie, Tongva Valley Shaman, to say hello to everybody at Southern California UFO and Paranormal Society. Greetings to all our new people. I've been adding 10 people a day to the society, so greetings, welcome to all. Today I'm going to be speaking about Sasquatch in Los Angeles and San Bernardino County. So we have a map here showing downtown Los Angeles here, and so the high desert here, Big Bear area, Azusa Canyon, Mount Baldy areas. So we're going to be focusing today on first in this area across the San Gabriel Range, there is one type 1 group. Type 1 Sasquatch are a larger type of Sasquatch. They go up to 10, 12 feet, at least 12 feet. They're usually reddish, auburn color, and they're usually found in this area farther north of here. But there is one that runs here between the 15 freeway and East Silverwood Lake, all the way up to Big Bear area and through Big Bear. And they stay in the pine forest. They never go out into the deserts. The larger type 1s, like way up here in the Sierras, will never go out of the timber forest or oak forest. They don't go into chaparral. They always stay up in forested areas. So then what you have is you have 3 groups of type 2 Sasquatch here in this area. And type 2 Sasquatch are different. They're usually black or brown. They're smaller. The males are 9 feet. The females are 7 foot. And the first group we're going to talk about is the Devil's Punch Bowl, Cogswell Reservoir group. They run across here, Devil's Punch Bowl here, Cogswell Reservoir. So in the summertime, they're going to be 7,000 feet at Cogswell Reservoir. Then in wintertime, they're going to back down to the Devil's Punch Bowl. So all this is burned just recently. So I'm thinking they're probably going to come back to this area around Lytle Creek. There's a valley here above Lytle Creek Falls that they'll probably, I'm sure, they have to move into. Now there's another group here that on this area. This is the Mojave River. This is the Mojave River that goes to Victorville here, and it goes up in Silverwood Lake. Now this is a type 2 group also. This group runs from Barstow all the way, and they cross here and to Fontana, Lytle Creek, Devore, and Muscopiabe. And then so they'll use railroad tracks. They'll use concrete washes to travel through to go into the cities in nighttime. Now the third group here is the Holcomb Valley group. This group runs from Holcomb Valley out to Whitewater right here. This is called Whitewater. And they run from here all the way over the top of Big Bear to Holcomb Valley, this group, and out to Joshua Tree. So that's the third group. So the first group here is the Devil's Punch Bowl group. The second group is the Mojave River group. The third group here, back here, that comes around, is the Holcomb Valley. We'll say Cherry Valley, Holcomb Valley on this side. They'll be in Holcomb Valley and up in Big Bear in wintertime, and then they'll come down to Cherry Valley or to Holcomb Valley in winter. The San Gorgonio ones I'm not really familiar with as far as Los Angeles, but I know they do run to San Gorgonio. There's quite a bit of action here above Palm Springs. Okay, so let's get to Los Angeles here. And we're going to move into okay, so this area here is known as, this is the San Gabriel Riverbed coming from Azusa Canyon. They used to come down in the 60s and 70s. The Sasquatch would come down through here, and then they would invade this area here, which is the Whittier Narrows. This is also known as Marano Beach. It is a wilderness, forested, swampy area, and then there's a wilderness. This here is a giant wilderness area. It's off limits, no honey, no nothing. It's just wilderness. Then here, in the 70s, this is Lake Lakes. My dad would drop me off at 5 o'clock in the morning here. This lake was closed off. It was part of the nature area that was hooked to the high school and to the nature preserve right here. This is the nature preserve. So the Sasquatch would come in here, and I would be fishing here, and they'd be right behind the fence here, watching me fish. Right here. This is where the fence was I talk about that would be always pushed down, would be right here. Right? So I'd be fishing right here in the morning for catfish in this cut right here, and I would always get scopathesia. Scopathesia is a feeling of being watched. So there was always something right here behind the fence that was watching me at 5 o'clock in the morning when I fished. But at sunrise, whatever was there would go away because the scopathesia would go away. So that's where I learned about the feeling of being watched was here at Whittier Nails. Then I felt it again at another place my grandfather took me to. It is here. It's called Prado Dam. This is Prado Dam, and this river goes up to Big Bear. This is Santa Ana River, and then out to Orange County. But this is Prado Dam, and here in the mid-70s again, just like I had over here in Whittier, I had the scopathesia, the feeling of being watched, right there. And I sense at the same time, like I've been all over places in my life, but the feeling of being watched, it didn't happen everywhere I went. It only happened in a few times at a few certain places. And I would grow older, I would learn that it was the Sasquatch that were triggering the scopathesia. Now, this is the location of my first Sasquatch face-to-face sighting. All right. Okay, so this is Rim of the World High School. Right here is a dirt road that led to the cabin that we had a family friend here. We used to go all the time, every weekend. It was called Arnold's Cabin. It was located right here. And behind Rim of the World High School, there's a creek. This creek ran down here to this canyon, right to the town of Blue Jay. Right here was the town of Blue Jay. Now, we used to walk this from Arnold's Cabin down the creek to Blue Jay. One year, I was 6. My first face-to-face. I was 100 yards ahead of my family right here, and I got the scopathesia feeling that I'm being watched. I turned over my left shoulder to see a Sasquatch standing here. 7-foot, brownish black Sasquatch, type 2, staring at me from behind the tree. That's the first time I ever had an encounter. All right. So, there are quite a bit of Sasquatch encounters, and if you go onto certain pages and you investigate in California, you'll find that there's quite a few going back encounters from the 50s, 60s, and 70s throughout Los Angeles. Some of the most famous ones in the Fontana area with Mickey Thompson had a drag strip late 50s and 60s, and it does close in the 70s. It was in Fontana, right off Foothill, and it was known as the Foothill Monster, and he was seen all the time. The dumpsters were on the far side of the drag strip, way out there, and it would be seen every evening, 2 or 3 of these large, hairy men creatures out there going through the dumpsters. And it was viewed by one of the track cooks that lived on the facility of the track would see it quite often coming through there. And then there's other accounts through all over Fontana, all the way up to 1980, of people seeing Sasquatch along the railroad tracks and inside the concrete washes, and all over around the Fontana, Etiwanda, Lytle Creek. There's one house in Lytle Creek, I do believe it has over, it's in the BFRO, and it's registered as seen over 9 Sasquatch crossing. It's actually, if you know where Lytle Creek is, the exit, there's a bunch of fast foods, Del Taco, Taco Bell, and then there's kind of one house up on the hill, kind of overlooking all that all the fast food right there and the gas station. That hill is the one that has the 9 sightings. It has a fire road because they have electrical towers that go to it. It has a fire road. So now you got, that's part of the second group. They're type 2, black, the smaller, 9-foot and smaller. You know, also, they've been quite a bit recorded by people that work around the concert area at Devore and the racetrack in Devore between midnight and 4 in the morning. You've had lots of accounts of people seeing the Sasquatch. If you on the 50 freeway and you go past Lytle Creek, the next exit is Glen Helen Parkway. That is the exit to get off for the concerts, right? Okay, at that ramp, right next to that ramp, there is a swamp right there next to that ramp. That swamp is where the Sasquatch will stay in wintertime. It's right next to the freeway, and it's pinned between the freeway and the housing tract that they just put in about 5 years ago. But they still live in there. They are very close to people within the housing tract, maybe a quarter mile of the housing tract, and they sleep right next to the freeway. There's a tunnel that goes under the freeway. It allows them to go to Lytle Creek, through a flood tunnel. So then they're all over to Lytle Creek, and that same group travels through all the way to Barstow. They'll travel to Barstow to get, there's a lot of burrow around a place called Static X Ranch out there. There's a lot of wild boar around Hallandale in the riverbed. There's a lot of wild boar around what they call Cherry Valley area. So you got a lot of Sasquatch that now live off of wild boar, wild pigs, feral pigs, hogs, and large herds of wild burro that are basically invading large parts of Southern California. And both the burro and the pig will come into town at nighttime and sleep on people's lawns and under the street lights. I mean, literally sleep under a street light. Like 15, 20 burro will climb under a street light, and they'll go right into a town where suburbia starts. And they'll do that purposely because they know that the Sasquatch people won't go and follow them into town like that. They won't go into the light. The Sasquatch won't go into the light like that, even in the nighttime. But you can believe that the Sasquatch at nighttime, they use from every canyon, whether it be Mount Baldy Canyon, Azusa Canyon, Doherty Canyon, Chantry Flats, Pasadena, Eaton Canyon, all those canyons lead into a concrete wash that is between 11.5 and 13 feet high. And those will lead, all those channels lead to either the San Gabriel or the Los Angeles River. So at nighttime, they can travel those routes undetected because, like I said, they're 13 feet high. So they can travel through there at nighttime and go undetected. So travel through anywhere in Los Angeles. They also will use the railroad tracks along the mountains to travel through at night because they can walk through the railroad tracks pitch black at night and they can't be seen by anybody. So you have a lot of Sasquatch here in Los Angeles that come in along the foothills, along the outer areas of Fontana, Highland areas, Cherry Valley areas, Merino Valley. You get a lot of Sasquatch that will chase animals right up to the city lights. In Victorville, between Apple Valley and the town of Victorville, there is the Mojave River, and there's a large forest that runs back in between there. And that forest also houses a group of Sasquatch in the wintertime. They're the Silverwood group. And when it starts snowing up in Crestline, they come down and they stay in that forest right behind the Spring Valley Lake in Mojave Narrows. And if they're not in there, they're about 4 miles up. And what Oro Grande is, there's another large forest in the river, Oro Grande. They move between those two in wintertime, depending on how much intrusion they have by people. So I know that much about the local Sasquatch people. I know that the type 2 Sasquatch don't really speak to people. They don't interact with people. They don't communicate with people. They're very skittish. They only come out at night. And they're pretty fearsome. And they're fearsome to keep you away. Now, the type 1 Sasquatch that we do have around Silverwood, all the way across the Big Bear in the back, that one, those are totally different. They're the tall ones, 11, 12 feet, reddish, auburn color, I said. And they do have a language. They speak their own language, and they will mimic you. They will say English. They will speak English. And some of the ones that I've come across, I already know quite a bit of language. They say, hey, hello. They'll say brother. They'll say you. So other people have already talked to these Sasquatch, and they've mimicked and remembered what they've been taught, or what their interactions with other people. They remember the words, and they mimic like that. So, like I said, there's only one group that I know of of the red ones. But when I went up to the Sierras, tons of the type ones. The type ones only live in the forest, timber forest. They'll go into the oak forest and the lower foothills, but they won't go into the chaparral. They're really big, so they don't go into the lower valleys, say in Central Valley and Bakersfield. They stay in the higher foothills, and then below them you'll find the black, smaller Sasquatch, which do go into the chaparral, which do go into the deserts. Like, so the type ones, the big ones, they always stay in the forest. They always stay in the timber. They'll always stay in the big 30-foot canopy. Where the type 2 black ones, they'll walk across the desert where it's just bushes and stickers and Joshua trees, an open area during nighttime. But the type 1s will never do that. They never leave the forest. So, and the type 1s push the smaller type 2s down into the less pristine areas. The type 1s they're larger, they take the pristine areas, they take the better parts of the forest, and they keep the type 2s away from that area into the foothills and lower areas. So around Los Angeles, you're going to find more concentration of type 2s because there's no big pristine forest. So now when you go up to the Sierras and the lower parts of Sierras, the lower parts of Victorville, you're going to find a lot of type 2s around Independence in there because it's more foothills, it's more scrub brush. But then when you get up to the higher elevations above 7,000 feet, where you get into the big timber, you're going to find nothing but type 1. Because that's their dominant area. They're the bigger Sasquatch. They own that area. It's the better environment. So once again, they use their size, their smarts, their strength to do. Now you get into people that tie people with tie Sasquatch up with UFOs. Well, let's just say that this is 2 types Sasquatch, and they're basically a type of great ape that has manifests itself on Earth naturally. And then you've got things, say there are ETs, or say there are beings, humans, that from the future are coming back. They don't look like us. They're gray. They're kind of ugly, whatever they are. They're not the same as us. So we think that ETs are from another, distant planet, but they just coming from our future or coming from our past. So we got all these variables of what everything is. So I'm getting to is you got people that see Sasquatch disappear in a flash of light. So was that really a Sasquatch, or was it an ET that was mimicking a Sasquatch being? So if you have a wide range of ETs and they come to Earth, say I wanted to do some work on Earth, but I didn't want to be in the city, I might want to come in the form of a Sasquatch being, because that body would be better to suit the conditions of where I'm going to be working at. So I might be an alien in a Sasquatch suit doing environmental biology work, and then I might beam back out, but I'm not really a Sasquatch. So there are variables that could be. This is a hypothesis. This doesn't mean it's happening. I'm giving you the variables of what people could be running into. Now, sure, you could have Sasquatch that, like me or other people, are contactees, and they've had contact with ETs, and they have information that normal humans don't. So you have Sasquatch that I know that are abducted, just like we are abducted. They're contactees. So we might be looking at Sasquatch that might have not really some kind of special power, but have technology. They have technology that has been given to them from ETs. Maybe it's their technology, but it's technology. If you see them disappear, is it a ET using a hologram as a Sasquatch being? Is it an actual physical Sasquatch ET in a physical being? Is it a hologram being? Are we looking at a Sasquatch that are just holding a device and hit the device and they cloaked, right? Or are we looking at Sasquatch that are capable of using a sound to put you in a hypnotic state to make you believe that they disappeared? Are Sasquatch using hypnosis, sound waves, hypnosis to make you believe that you thought you saw them disappear? They're still there. So there's so many variables, and people are always just saying, well, the Sasquatch is this or it's that. Sasquatches are ETs. Well, I doubt that the 2 types are ETs, but I do know that they do have, the type 1 does have contact, just like humans do. and there are humans that have some ET technology that other people just don't have. There may be Sasquatch that have that technology. So I'd like to thank everybody here for joining here at Southern California UFO and Paranormal Society. Welcome you all, new people. I am Albie once again. I pretty much cover everything as a shaman. I've been trained to deal with ghosts and demons. I am a trained exorcist. I do exorcisms. I work with all kinds of cryptids. I understand all types of theories, science. I'm a deep. I'm a big scientist, to tell you the truth. Besides being a follower of Buddhist and Native American spirituality, I'm a huge science nut. I'm really into magnetism. The new thing about programmable magnets. I am into string theory, particle theory. I'm into the Hadron Collider. I am into things that you probably wouldn't think I am into, including cooking sushi or rice. Or it doesn't matter if it's playing a musical instrument or trying to sing or trying to build a trophy truck or trying to, figure out how to build a reverse osmosis water machine in your own house. Whatever it is, I pretty much can cover it. I pretty much done there and been that. So if you have any question, whether it be how to spool up your turbo, right, on your Alice 6 motor, for your trophy truck, or whether it be how to get proper compression for your spring ratings, for the weight of your truck, no matter what it is, I will cover it. You've got ghosts in your attic, you've got poltergeists moving stuff around in your house. I'll help you out. Okay. Blessings to all. Namaste.